off of the plane. Just to get back in the trenches. My sister, my brother was slain, and I haven't seen any mentions. With social media and networks, so irritated that my head hurts. And when I do, it's only excerpts, small commentary from the experts. No appreciation for the lives lost. I posted up with the iron cross when the smoke clears from fine off. All I think about is my fault, man. Should've been there to protect you. The bullets that came and they wrecked you. Now it's my duty to go and collect you. Wrapping the casket, sending you home. Not full of madness, knowing you gone. How could this happen? Tell me I'm wrong. Dip in the sadness, leave me alone. Doctor got me medicated, wanna get me regulated. Helping me recover with the pain. Even though we celebrated everything you dedicated, now I gotta make it through the rain.
Whether they gonna find a thing, whether wood in a golden frame, I still love, I still love, I still love through the rain. Whether they gonna find a thing, whether wood in a golden frame, I still love, I still love, I still love through the rain.
Army Specialist Aaron David Robinson is accused of killing Guillen, and his girlfriend Cicely Aguilar is accused of helping him get rid of the body. And tonight, we have Aguilar's confession about exactly what happened the night Guillen disappeared.
Well, today marks 2 years since an Air Force veteran was shot and killed by a DeKalb County police officer. 27-year-old Anthony Hill, whose family says he suffered from PTSD, was naked and unarmed when he was shot by Officer Robert Olson during an encounter.
Olson was indicted by a grand jury and faces felony murder along with other charges. And now we're going the DA has appointed a new prosecution team in that case.
Oh, man. Yeah. Ryan's in here, too. He's silent, though. Yeah. This one for my aces. Came from different bases. Traveling them places, yeah. Conquering the nations. Ain't no rocket science, but chemistry what made us. Keep on dropping hits till they know we the greatest, yeah, yeah. Everything is alright. In the studio, we be all night. Everything is alright. In the studio, we be all night.
We been flying, look out, though. People trying, too much ego. I can take them out solo like Greedo. We been flying, look out, though. People trying, too much ego.
Welcome to Plausible Foolishness, home of the Rube Empire, where the people are free, the taxes are voluntary, and we serve freshly roasted liberal logic every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, right here on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and all the rest. I am one of the two kings of the Rube Empire, the Philosopher King, the Ivory Tower, the Mad Scientist Matt, and with me, the Kick-Ass Duke, the producer, the right hand of the kings, Rusty.
Yeah! What's up, Matt? How are you? How's everything going?
That's good. It's almost Friday.
Hey.
It's our last show of the week, and that's not a bad thing either. Although I'm sure you want more of us I always want more of us.
Hey, I can never
And
stop
that can
looking
happen
at
if
that beautiful
we,
mug of yours.
as we grow. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Growing up the beard rather nicely.
Yes. Aha. Ah. Oh,
Oh, don't
yeah,
hit the
don't
mic.
hit the mic. Yeah. Watch the ivory tower. Come on. So,
How you been?
busy. Very, very busy. Got the truck running. Very happy about that. Started up. Purred like a kitten. Yes. If you don't know, I've been rebuilding my truck from essentially the entire front end of it. Big project, but starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yay! Work has been
Hooray.
busy and we're good. I almost had to buy a new TV today.
Why is
Well, this guy, we'll just say let's go Brandon, was on it with his
that?
Kamala background cheering him on, going, yeah, yeah, hey, he's coming out here. To, yeah, his, what's her name? Skeletor. I think would be a good one. Hey, man.
I don't know. Nancy Pelosi's more
You think
Skeletor
so?
to me. Yeah.
Anyways,
Kamala's, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, she does have the Skeletor laugh,
the cackle.
but I don't know. Yeah.
So, anyways, they decided to appear on Fox News at the Capitol building to inaugurate the first anniversary of the Capitol riots. That
An important memoriam.
So important because the tragedy that happened that day.
Yeah.
The loss.
I mean, it's equivalent to Pearl Harbor and 9/11.
It's right up there.
You know?
I would equate it more to the to the Boston Tea Party, but that's here nor there.
Yeah, the St. Valentine's Day massacre. You know, yeah, like hundreds died at Pearl Harbor, right?
Thousands, actually.
Thousands. Yeah. Okay, thousands died in Pearl Harbor. Thousands died in 9/11, and thousands died at the Capitol Alliance.
Wait, what? What? Hold on. No.
Well, I mean, that would be the only way that they'd be equivalent, right?
Two. Yeah. One police officer died from a heart attack, and the other one was shot by a. Well, we really don't know what he was. We don't know if he was security, FBI, or CIA. We don't know. Or Secret Service. He might have been Secret Service too.
Yeah.
He was part of an alphabet. I know that, but other than that, we don't know. We don't know who he is. We don't know anything about him. There's no security footage that's been released to the public. So hard to say.
And the cop who died of a heart attack. That was days later, right?
No, that was that day, but it had nothing to do with the riots. I mean the riots. Sorry, I misspoke there. Riots. They sound so similar.
I don't remember that. My understanding was that there was a guy who had a stroke, and they had said that he had gotten hit with a fire extinguisher, which was not true.
No, it's not true. It's not true.
And then days later, he had a stroke and died.
Yes, that was separate. That was another one. There's also a guy that had a heart attack.
Okay.
And died on scene.
Interesting. Which is interesting because they didn't. That wasn't mentioned by the Capitol Police when they put their letter out 6 months after. They mentioned the guy who had the stroke, and then the other one who killed himself like a couple weeks later.
Yeah, you have
as if they were the
only suicide. Yeah, I forgot about that one. So We're
or not.
fishing for them then. Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
realize we were going
Well,
to that route, but sure, why not? We're fishing for deaths that happened around that time. I'm sure there must have been some um, Florona deaths.
there was also uh, a couple people in the crowd who died of heart attacks later
Hmm.
on. A few days later. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
So I mean, just a massacred, and
yeah,
all Trump's
yeah.
fault.
Totally
Yep, all
equivalent.
Trump's fault.
Totally equivalent.
Suffice it to say, I nearly threw my remote and my phone at the television because of the absolutely blatant, um, what's the word? Exaggeration, lies
Hmm.
per se. Some might say
Definitely
full-on lying
lies.
um,
Um,
of the current
the
administration.
the egregious twisting of the actual story for political
Well
gain.
said. Well said. That's exactly what I was trying to. Perfectly said, Matt. Thank you. Mm.
I
So
try.
yeah, quite quite a bit of self-control had to be um, pulled back from throwing the TV at the or throwing the remote at the TV to yeah. It's not the TV's fault that Biden is stupid. It just it's
No, it
Biden's
is not.
fault that he's that stupid.
I mean, yeah, probably. I would say, well, but he's obviously got dementia too. But then he was stupid
Yeah,
before.
it's not a
I
huge
mean,
change from what he was.
yeah. Well, he was a little slicker before.
He,
Like he had that gaffe where where like the guy who was in the wheelchair and he tells him to stand
oh
up,
God, yeah.
right? But he instantly recovered from that. He's like, "What am I saying? We should stand up for you." And then they all stand. He gets everybody to stand up and turned it right around instantly. He ain't doing
No,
that no more.
not. But anyways, I digress. But um, so there, that happened today. He addressed the nation in this time of tragedy and sorrow for um, everybody that lost their lives on January 6th.
Did you see that Ted Cruz is apparently for at least a second time calling it a terrorist attack?
Okay.
Like, what are you talking about, Ted? What garbage are you spilling?
Why?
Like, I think he's on the right side more
Yeah.
often than not, or at least, but this is
Hmm.
ridiculous. Um, and, I mean, like, makes me pissed off that I ever defended
Yeah.
him,
Well,
frankly. Even though he did deserve it, the
it's all about
defense.
calling
But,
a spade, and when a spade is a spade. Um, when
yeah.
I agree with Ted Cruz, I'll call him out. Hey, I like what he did here. I like what he said. I like how he grilled this person or did that or did this. However, when he says something
Hmm.
stupid, I'm going to call it stupid. Why? Because that's what we
Yeah.
do. We call people what they are when
Hmm.
they are that. Unfortunately, typically the left tends to be more of the stupid goes with them.
Yeah, definitely. But, I'm also not like it. I don't like the purism that we see in the right. The left definitely has that, but they all generally fall in
Yeah.
lockstep. And the right has differing views because we're individuals and we're not
Nope.
collectivists and we're not brainwashed per se. There's obviously, I mean, there's definitely tribalism and
Yeah.
all that stuff, but that's natural That's humans, you know. Um, but
Well, for example, look at
but there's a strain of purism.
our show for
Well,
example. You have libertarian, anarchist,
mm-hmm.
and whatever Ray is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
He's definitely at least conservative.
we're all considered conservative, which I think
He might be a trad con.
he might be, or I might be.
He
Yeah,
might be.
okay.
I mean, if you're a libertarian, you're not trad con.
No,
You know,
but
or a paleo con or whatever
I
you
have
want
no
to
idea
call
what
it.
that is, so I really don't know.
Well, tradcon is traditional conservative, you know. Paleocon is kind of like a harder core version of
Okay.
that, you know.
Well, just in our small group, we have pretty wide varying views on what we think would work best for our government, right?
Mm-hmm.
You lean much more of absolutely no government. I lean more towards little government.
Or at least no federal
Yeah, exactly,
government.
no federal government. I lean much more towards little federal government. Still federal government, just very much smaller than what it is now. Like maybe 1% of what it currently is.
Which I'd be down with. I'd be down with that.
See?
You know, maybe a minarchist instead of an anarchist. You know,
Minimal.
The most minimal. Yeah, a minarchist is like the most minimal government necessary.
And
you
necessary
know?
is
And then the anarchist says none of it's necessary. Yeah, and the anarchist says none of it's necessary.
That's not true. We have other.
Or is it?
We have other countries to deal with, so thus, it's not true.
Do we?
Yes.
Do we? Do we?
Unless we want to be wiped out or conquered. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that? Who's going to conquer us? Canada?
China, Russia.
China's dealing with its own borders. Why is China going to come all the way here to conquer? They've got all that they need. It would be foolish. That would not happen.
Mexico, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Arab Springs. I don't know. There's a lot of different people that don't like us, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be us in their business anymore.
Doesn't matter if we're in their business or not. They don't like us. Thus, they'd come after us even if we left them alone. So, I say carry a big stick.
Except that there's no government for them to destroy.
No, they would be coming after the people.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I don't see that being as big a problem.
Well.
And, you know, we have guns.
Yes, we do.
And there's probably something else we can do beyond that.
Essentially, what I'm advocating for is a military, a federal military, and that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else can be handled by the states. Just military, and all right, we're good.
But really, we could just do National Guards in each state, you know?
I really like the idea of a federal military.
Well, I mean, we have an alliance amongst states.
Yeah, that's why we're called the United States.
For mutual protection. Exactly. And so, you know.
But anyways, other than that, I'm much more of a federal government doesn't need to be there or do anything other than this one thing. And even then, they do it so-so. Because of everything else.
True. The other thing, I mean, and we'll talk about this later. I obviously have questions of my own. Like I ask the same. I'm playing
I know
devil's
you are.
advocate, but I ask the
Yeah.
same questions. You know. Anyway, well, we were talking about that. Oh well, okay. This is going to be a terrible segue because I don't have a segue. But we're gonna get to one of the stories that we want to talk about.
Okay.
In just real quick, and Dusty has not heard this
Okay.
yet, so this is gonna be his
Blind
honest first reaction.
reactions. Do-doom, do-doom, do-doom.
Yes. All right. This is from the Daily Wire. Lawyer for Epstein victims, Maxwell's potential mistrial, a gut punch. Did you know that there was potentially a mistrial happening
No.
in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial? Yeah. A lawyer representing several of the women allegedly victimized by billionaire and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein said Wednesday that it was a gut punch that Ghislaine Maxwell could receive a new trial after it was revealed that one of the jurors may have withheld his past sexual abuse and used it to sway the jury. Ghislaine Maxwell may get a new trial. Really? Attorney Lisa Bloom, who represents 8 women who were alleged victims of sexual abuse by Epstein, wrote in a Twitter thread reacting to the news. Because another human was sexually abused, this is just awful. Juror Scotty David has given interviews. He says he revealed his sexual abuse history during deliberation. Fine, that's allowed. But, she continued, like all those in the jury pool, he filled out a questionnaire before trial. One question was whether he was a sexual abuse victim, and if so, to describe what happened without names. That document is not public, but both sides are indicating he was not truthful. Again, we don't know. But the attorney and the judge know, Bloom continued. The prosecution, which must stand for truth and fairness, requested an inquiry. Bad sign. Of course, the defense wants a mistrial. The judge just ordered debriefing on the inquiry and mistrial motion. Very bad sign. I want to be clear. Being a sexual abuse victim does not disqualify you from serving on a sexual abuse jury. To the contrary, I want victims on my juries. Many victims say they can't serve on my trials for this reason. But please, we need you, she wrote. The issue is whether this juror lied on his questionnaire, depriving the defense of the chance to ask him questions during jury selection to see if he was biased. Bloom added, by the way, why do we assume victims are biased but not non-victims? Non-victims often have skewed, false views about abuse. If he lied, and if the court finds it was material, the judge may order a new trial, Bloom went on. My heart goes out to the 4 victims who want to do it all again, and this story underscores how many people have been sexually abused. It's a rampant epidemic. And because this juror was a victim and was brave enough to tell his story in the deliberations room and stand with the other victims, a convicted sex trafficker may get a do-over. Just a punch in the gut to the 8 Jeffrey Epstein victims I represent. Maxwell's defense attorneys petitioned the court for a new trial Thursday after it was revealed. Okay, so they're just repeating what we already know.
Oh, by the way, this is just in. I just saw it. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
That is definitely still true.
I just want to make sure that 100%. That's out
there. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that update. That's important news. So that's infuriating.
It's okay. The jury is supposed to be a jury.
She's absolutely right about the about the bias thing.
I don't know. I'm torn because he lied. He didn't. Well, I don't know what this person's state of mind was, because he might have intentionally left it off there because he didn't want to talk about what happened to him, or he left it off because he wanted to be able to. He was afraid he wouldn't be able to get on the jury. if he said yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Either way, I don't think it's that big of a deal, and I don't think it should be part of a mistrial unless he specifically influenced the jury because of his trauma.
I mean, he says that he used it in the deliberations.
So what?
You know.
He can say, "Hey, listen, I've experienced what these people have gone through. It's horrific." Okay. Does it affect the evidence that they brought forth?
Yeah.
That's where did
No.
he manipulate any of the
But
evidence that was brought to trial?
no.
Then
But he might have. So it's like this. It's basically what she said. He deprived the prosecution of asking him questions to see if there was bias before he before he got into the jury
hey, just
pool.
just a little hint. Um, everybody's pretty much biased against people that rape other people and abuse other people. It's
Yeah,
a pretty
I know.
biased thing, no matter who you are.
Sure, but the goal of the justice system is to have unbiased jurors, you know, looking at this case
I can be perfectly
as to
honest, and
whether or not she committed crimes.
I can be perfectly honest in this regard. I would not be biased.
Oh no.
I'm usually
Do you think that Miss Maxwell did it?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, she definitely did it.
she did it.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
I would
And
be off that jury
and I'll
about
tell you
3
this much
seconds.
as well. Not only did she do it, she did it for Epstein, and Epstein did it for a lot of other people in positions of power in this country. And what's going to happen is she's going to be a scapegoat, and none of those other people are ever going to be mentioned, and nothing is going to happen to them.
Well, they've already sealed
And
all the
sure
other
enough,
names on that list.
I'd be right. Yep, already done that. And we said it. We said I made that point early
Before
on.
the trial even started.
She's been when they caught her. It's like the only thing I'm afraid of is that it's going to end with her.
Yep.
She'll be the one that goes down, and then nobody else will ever be mentioned again. And then, sure enough, we see, James Comey's daughter.
Yep.
Is part of her defense team. The fingers are part of her prosecution team. Sorry, the prosecution against her. And the fingers are already in place.
I just
Yeah,
I have a hard time.
Yeah, we would not have it. No,
If
it
they
sucks.
would've
It
started
sucks.
with-
I think that
If
there's
they would have started with, okay, we're having a trial. All right, these are the people that came to the island. Boom, drop the list. I would have been, oh, right. Hey, we're actually going to get some answers in this. This is going to be a real trial here. Okay, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah,
But
that would be great. But either way, she deserves to go down.
Yeah.
So this mistrial is disconcerting. But there is I don't know what the legal precedent is, for any of this, but the dude shouldn't have lied on the questionnaire. But I also think that the lawyer who's representing these 8 women is also right. Why is it automatically assumed that somebody who's been has bias and not non-abuse victims? Somebody who's been abused is automatically potentially biased, but non-abuse victims aren't biased in any way. That's everybody's biased. Assume bias.
Thank you. Right?
Assume bias no matter what,
Ask people,
and then try to hunt it out. Try to ferret it out and
and search for the truth.
see if if you think it'll affect your case. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Anyway, It's a punch in the gut to me too. I think it's a punch in the gut to um any moral actor in this country,
Yeah.
who's following this.
So that
That
it does
sucks.
suck.
Anyway, but now on to the titular uh, story of this
I think we're
episode.
far enough into the episode now that everybody that is not interested in what we have to say is already gone, so we don't have to worry too much about what we say now.
Well, YouTube is never gone, so
Yeah, you just got to
they have
disguise the words.
algorithms. Yeah. So, as we know, Dr. Malone was on was it Robert
Yes.
Malone? Dr. Robert Malone was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's the inventor of the mRNA technology that we use to create the you-know-whats.
The badoo.
The the pew-pews, the jab. And and he's been pretty vocal about let's say
the way his technology has been
negative
applicated.
negative side effects and usage and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then and he was kicked off of Twitter, and the video appearing on YouTube was deleted and removed, And then the same thing with Dr. Abramson, who was also on talking about not even in specifically the vaccine. He's very pro the jab. He thinks that that the data will eventually lead to us saying that it was a miracle, that it did really good things, which
Which I'm not
you can
against
take that or leave
anybody
it.
getting the jab. I want to be clear on this. If you feel that you need to go get the jab for whatever reason is adequate for you, go get it. Go get it. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't mandate it for everybody else.
Yeah.
It's wrong to say.
Yes, it's called informed consent, and we should all have it, and we should all have the correct information too.
I'd really like to
But
see
so
a
he's very
sheet
pro
that
the
says
vaccine.
exactly what is included on, or I'm sorry, in the pew-pews, the jabs. Because didn't they get something that says we don't have to release the information for like 50 years?
Yeah, they did. I think it was 75 years.
Oh my
actually.
gosh. Okay. So in other words, everybody that's gotten it is going to be well and gone.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so Abramson was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about Big Pharma and its incestuous relationship with the government, and the downright dastardly things that they do, marketing and just screwing over the American public
as much as possible.
Big time. Yeah, and making billions off of it, and occasionally having to go to court.
Well, Pfizer,
I mean,
the almighty Pfizer's dealing with the largest lawsuit in American history right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even then, it's still they've made $33 billion last year, and it'll be like $36 billion this year. They're gonna be fine.
That's just it.
They're gonna be fine.
The amount that they make,
and that's just off of the vaccine.
Yeah, the amount that they make off of some of this stuff pales in comparison to the I'm sorry, the amount that they get sued for is minuscule to the amount that they make prior to the lawsuit.
Hmm. Well, he spent some time talking about a drug. I think it was called Vizio or something like that, or Voxio, or I can't remember the exact name. But it killed people, thousands, tens of
Okay.
thousands of people it killed, and it was like it was a diet, like I think it was a diabetes treatment or something like that. I don't know. He talked about a ton of different things.
Yeah,
So I would need to like listen to it a couple times to like really lay out, everything that he talked about. It was 2 hours of just nonstop information. And anyway, this drug was supposed to be better than the previous drugs. That's the way they marketed it. And they market it to doctors, and then doctors prescribe it, right?
that's the way it should be.
And they market it to us. So they market it to doctors, and they market it to us, and then the doctors prescribe it. Well, there's only 2 countries in the world that allows drug companies to advertise their wares.
America and who else?
New Zealand.
Really? New Zealand?
But New Zealand has New Zealand has much stricter oversight over how it's done, over their products, et cetera, et cetera. So it's still not equivalent, and so they'll make claims that it's better,
Yeah.
right? Well, it's let's say that they'll make claims that it does it's the newest drug, it does such and such a thing, and then they lead you to believe that it does it better than previous drugs, but it doesn't.
Yes.
It does exactly the same thing, that it does at least exactly what the previous drugs did before. Okay. Right? And then and maybe but then, like, okay, this one was had to do with gut health. So it was supposed to be better for gut health, but it ended up messing up people's hearts, I think. Their cardiovascular systems. Right? So the other drugs in that category could sometimes cause people, stomach pains and things like that.
Yeah.
Right? So not only is this drug better, it wasn't. It did what the others did and were supposed to do, what you prescribed it for, at least the same. And then, it supposedly didn't cause the gut problems, but it caused way more cardiovascular problems. Tens of thousands of people
It's just
died,
the
right?
gut is the one that you notice.
And so yeah. And so then they made $12 billion off of it. They probably spent, they spent billions develop it, because that's what happens. They do, the research and development costs are insane, right? But then the with fines and lawsuits, they lost about $4 billion on that. And so ultimately they still made about $1 billion of profit off of this drug. And the drug, the drug was in circulation for 5 years.
I have one question. What company out there wouldn't want to make $1 billion? You say it like it's like
exactly.
It's just flippant. $1 billion. $1 billion.
I'm not saying it like that.
That's Austin Powers right there. Dr. Evil pulling out $1 billion.
Yeah, that's Dr. Evil money.
That's Dr. Evil money. It's an insane amount of money. $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, take for example, if you took a person to every single store in all of Europe and bought everything in every single store in all of Europe, you still wouldn't even come close to equaling half of the national debt of the United States.
Yeah, that was a great video you sent me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just a
it's
billion
insane.
dollars. $1 billion. The company I work for, we just crossed over 800,000. It's not huge, but in my industry,
And that's a lot of money.
big. That's big time. $1 billion?
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
huge amount of money. So, yeah,
for
they
sure.
made bank. That's more than most movie
Hmm.
production companies make on a movie.
And then think about all the other drugs that they're
Hmm.
making that are just newer drugs. See, like the thing that they do is that they make new
Yeah,
drugs, right? But those new drugs aren't necessarily more
or
effective.
better.
They're just
Yeah.
new. Yeah, they're not better in any way. Sometimes they're
Yep.
worse, and they deal with that. They deal with that. Meanwhile, they're just producing new drugs that, that you think because it's new, it's better, but it's not. It actually in the trials you see that it doesn't actually do do a better job of doing it. It might do an
Hmm.
equivalent job, but the other one is no longer patented, right?
Ivermectin.
So it's gone generic. We can't make as much money off of it. The price
Yep.
lowers. But we can make this new drug make you believe that it is better, and then we're back making billions
Yeah.
of
So
dollars
they take the old
instead of
drug, change it a
instead
little
of
bit,
looking for
and go.
cures
It's
and things
good.
like that.
It's good.
Yeah, and that's all just treating symptoms instead of looking for cures and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
It's
It's kind of
who
sick.
was it?
And
I think it was George Carlin that had a joke that says the pharmaceutical company is never there to find a cure for anything. The only thing they want you to do is be able to live with the disease. Because if you can live with the disease, they can make a ton of money off of you. Like, can you imagine going down the
yeah,
street?
you're a customer for the
Yeah.
rest of your life.
Imagine going down the street and, or say you go to work. Hey, Bill, how's it going? Good, good. Hey, I noticed you weren't in work yesterday. What was happening? Oh, my AIDS was acting up again. Oh, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I took some medicine. I'm good.
Yeah,
That's the kind of thing that they want over and over again.
for sure, without a doubt. And because there's just tons and tons of money, astronomically insane amounts of money. And here's the kicker about the vaccines. There was no research and development costs for them this time. The government paid for all that. So all that 33 billion and 36 billion, that 69
Hmm.
billion, giggity, um, that's pure profit.
Yes.
They didn't even have to advertise it.
No, it's all
They
sold.
didn't even have to advertise it because, yeah, the CNN did that for them. MSNBC, your local news.
They're the Tesla
This was.
of the drug market. They don't have to advertise. They don't even have to have a dealership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um. What else was I gonna say? Oh, so then I also so go listen to the Dr. Malone. You can find it on Spotify. We were wrong a couple days ago. It is still on Spotify. I
Good.
think. I'm super grateful for that. That's great. And screw all the people who worked for Spotify who were trying to get him shut
Yeah.
down, douchebags. Um, go listen to the John Abramson interview to learn about how insidious the pharmaceutical industry is. And frankly, that's one area where I'm like, who would in an anarchist system, who would monitor that?
Yeah.
They'd run amok even more, except that there'd be there'd be no restraint to competition. So a competitor that with morals
Wouldn't be able to compete with them.
would no, they would. The government wouldn't be restricting them. There'd be no FDA to hold them back. There'd be no force system to stop them. It would just be a matter of funds and research, and marketing, and
Oh, kind of like
they'd have to.
chloroquine, which is a generic drug. We've known about it for almost 70 years,
Mhm.
60, 70 years.
Oh yeah,
Very
yeah.
safe,
Cheap as all get out.
effective against respiratory
Mhm.
viruses. And why aren't we using it? Oh yeah, the drug companies can't make any money off of it.
Yeah. So the Malone interview was interesting because Joe kept asking him why though. What was the why would what incentive why would they do this?
Yeah.
And he was really he's just a cool cucumber. Like very very smart, obviously. And and also he was just radiating wisdom too, because he wouldn't answer. He wouldn't answer it. He's like, listen, you're trying to, and not angry about it. And Joe didn't take it offense either. He's actually like, he respected him
Yeah.
for it, and I respected him for it. He wouldn't answer that. Like, I don't know. I can only give you the facts. I don't know what's inside their head, so I can't
Yep.
answer that.
He wasn't going to speculate on stuff
But
stuff
these
he
are the
didn't know.
facts. Yeah. That's for jamokes like us to do,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy
The
to
show
do
is
it.
called Plausible Foolishness, not factual foolishness.
Yeah. We try to be as factual. We try to let the facts inform our foolishness. But, you need somebody to make some
But at
speculations.
the end of the day,
now, there was a third.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a third interview a few weeks earlier that I also recommend that you go watch or listen to. A Dr. Peter McCullough McCullough. I'm not sure, did he get canceled too?
Probably.
I know Abramson and Malone did. I've only heard it in the context of two doctors. But if McCullough didn't do it, McCullough, let's say. If McCullough didn't get canceled, that's amazing.
He snuck under
because of all of them, he was the most bombastic. He was out there speculating. He's like, well, listen, here's the facts. What else could it be? What else could it be?
Well,
and he was laying down. I mean, he was laying down facts. He made the claim that he'd been involved with COVID since the beginning. Not necessarily at the White House level, but like with research trials and I mean, he runs his own journal, so he's the editor in chief of a journal. The dude's involved in so much, and while having a practice himself, okay, like crazy. I gotta respect it. I don't know. I mean, he just loves what he does, and that's awesome.
Good for him.
Good for him. Good for him. But so he's been in it to win it from the beginning, and he's looking at at the information that's coming in, and there was from the very beginning there was no plan set up to study early treatment. And when you're in these kinds of situations, it's all about
Yeah.
early treatment. Like he's just like, what is the treatment to keep people out of hospitals and to keep them from dying? Vaccines aren't a
No,
treatment.
they're a therapy.
You know, they're a therapy. They're a preventative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they're not a treatment for a person who has
Exactly.
it. And so he's been about early treatment. And and we saw what they did, the demonization of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, and the restriction on monoclonal antibodies, which is a brilliant technology that came out of Operation Warp
Yes.
Speed. So say what you want to say about the jab, you know, take it or leave it, whatever. The monoclonal antibodies is a brilliant thing because basically what they did, it's so genius. What they did was they acquired the antibodies for there's when a person gets COVID, there's 27 different antibodies that they
Okay.
produce based on 27 proteins found in the
Yeah.
virus, right? So they took like there's like 3 different products of monoclonal antibodies, and so they each one has a different has 2 of them have 2 different antibodies, and one of them has one but that does a very specific thing that's really
Okay.
effective. And so they harvested those antibodies from people who had
Yeah.
COVID, and then they just cloned them. They cloned them and produced them on a massive scale. So they're just injecting people with the antibodies they would need to fight
COVID.
the virus. It's brilliant. It's
That's smart.
genius.
Okay.
And yeah. But then, remember the Biden administration was holding back on it, keeping the states from
Yep.
getting it.
Especially Florida.
And then DeSantis had to go around him to get stuff for
Yes.
Florida. Despicable. All of this is treatment. And why? Why? That's a good question.
Yeah.
And so he had no problem speculating. Go listen to that one too. Because, I mean, seriously, get informed about what's going on.
It's pretty crazy.
It's infuriating. It's infuriating.
It's almost to the point where
Yeah.
if it's not deliberate, it's incompetent. And if it's not incompetent, then it's deliberate. So either way you go,
Yeah.
it's not a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And to me, from my perspective, for it to be incompetent, the incompetence necessary for it to be a case of incompetence is so high that it's got to be
Yeah.
deliberate. Like
I'm on the deliberate camp more than I am on the
yeah,
incompetent.
it's
camp.
astronomical levels of incompetence. And and then you get the demonization of this, and it's worldwide.
Yep.
This demonization, it wasn't just in the US, it was all over the freaking place.
It was pushed super hard, harder than I anything else
Mhm.
in history has ever been pushed that we need to get. And there's so many records of things like this happening where what was it, back in the 70s, the swine flu was a big deal, and they came out with this vaccine. Well, come to find out, the long-term side effects of the vaccine is mental instabilities, and something like 5% of the people that got it But they didn't do any of those studies until much, much later. It wasn't until the 1990s that all that came out. That's almost 20 years later. Yeah.
Yep. Here's what McCullough said. He said that if they had been researching, if the government, at the highest administration level, part of Operation Warp Speed or whatever you want to call it, to Anthony Fauci, all that crew, had been researching early treatment protocols, 85% of the people who died would still be alive.
Jeez.
Is what he
Holy
said.
cow. That's a huge percentage.
Yeah. Yeah. That was his estimate.
That's a big estimate.
That's something to think about. That's something to think about. I mean, yeah.
I like where you leave that. It's something to think about, something for the weekend to chew on, to reminisce over, and possibly talk about a little bit more on our next show.
Go watch those videos. Yeah, go watch those videos. Sure. There's a reason why they canceled them. It's because
it makes them look really, really bad.
They laid down the facts. They laid down the facts. And frankly, the two kings have been right and then some, We've been right the whole time, and then there's so much more that we didn't even know about.
What is it that we always say? Just wait 12 to 18 months?
Yeah. Yep. It's exactly true.
Whatever we're talking about now,
on that note,
12, 18 months, it's going to come out.
Yep. On that note, you've been watching Plausible Foolishness, home of the Rube Empire, where the people are free, the taxes are voluntary, and we serve freshly roasted liberal logic every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9:30 p.m. right here on twitch.tv/Plausible Foolishness, YouTube, Facebook Live, Rumble, Instagram, anywhere you can get a podcast, and minds.com. Peace and God bless.
Say, look, hey, free Masana for your honor. Left on boxing them chains. Rick was my dog, man. Why that bullet had got lodged in his brain? My mind is insane. A memory card is locked in the game. These optical frames spot ops and leave a block full of pain. Did the impossible, cross the tightrope while dodging the rain. I put extensions in my Glock, no, I am not finna aim. Swear I got robbed and joined the army, so my spot could remain. One lost his life in North Carolina, hope he not as I say. Drinking sorrow away on my alky still. For the soldiers we lost on the battlefield. Why am I hurting myself as I bury on belching out death when I'd rather heal? And most of these rappers ain't that for real. They mentioning that shit, they got for real. Talking fly when we push that in vacuum seal. Some of my homies not pushing up that deal. 900 put music to dream hours. We been up grinding up 10 hours. They ain't believing that team power, then we had to run up 14,000. I thank you all for supporting us. This right here for the voice of the warrior. Victory is a beautiful woman. We went through the rain while in love with Victoria.
Whether they gonna find a thing, whether wood and a golden frame, I still love, I still love, I still love through the rain. Whether they gonna find a thing, whether wood and a golden frame, I still love, I still love, I still love through the rain.
Hard to hop off of the plane, just to get back in the trenches. My sister, my brother was slain, and I haven't seen any mentions from social media and networks. So irritated that my head hurts, and when I do, it's only excerpts. Small commentary from the experts. No appreciation for the lives lost. I posted up with the iron cross when the smoke clears from fine off. All I think about is my fault, man. Should have been there to protect you. The bullets that came and they wrecked you. Now it's my duty to go and would collect you, wrapping the casket, sending you home. Not full of madness, knowing you gone. How could this happen? Tell me I'm wrong. Dip in the sadness, leave me alone. Doctor got me medicated, wanna get me regulated, helping me recover with the pain. Even though we celebrated everything you dedicated, now I gotta make it through the rain.
Whether thing or the final thing, whether wooden or golden frame, I still love, I still love, I still love through the rain. Whether thing or the final thing, whether wooden or golden frame, I still love, I still love, I still love through the rain.
Army Specialist Aaron David Robinson is accused of killing Guillen, and his girlfriend Cicely Aguilar is accused of helping him get rid of the body. And tonight, we have Aguilar's confession about exactly what happened the night Guillen disappeared.
Well, today marks 2 years since an Air Force veteran was shot and killed by a DeKalb County police officer. 27-year-old Anthony Hill, whose family says he suffered from PTSD, was naked and unarmed when he was shot by Officer Robert Olson during an encounter.
Olson was indicted by a grand jury and faces felony murder along with other charges. And now we've learned the DA has appointed a